Alright, today we're reviewing the Mr. Heater Buddy Portable Propane Heater. I have every attachment that I could find here, so let's get into it. Okay, let's go ahead and check out the heater itself. So here it is. This is one of their smaller ones. They have multiple larger in size. This one's pretty cool. I've used this one for a couple months now. We've used it one night when the power was out and it was cold out. I've used it outside, outdoors, out in the garage, etc. I don't have any complaints so far. So basically, how this thing works is you got this knob over here in the off position. You come over here, it has an electric pilot light, and that's how you light it. You got a low setting and a high setting on this one. Now, on the larger ones, you'll have a low, medium, and a high setting, but you know. Now, you might be asking yourself, is this thing safe for indoor use? And the answer is, actually, yes. I've used this thing inside with a CO2 monitor in a closed space, and the levels of CO2 never went up. They never even elevated at all. It's remained at zero, and I checked multiple times throughout the night. So, I don't have any worries. One drawback, though, that I do have is, especially if you're using these 1 pound tanks and it runs out, it stinks. There's no way to avoid that unless maybe you set a timer and just get up a little bit early and turn it off. But if this thing goes out, it's going to stink. And I think it's just the leftover propane leaking out from the tanks and the tank that's built into here. But yeah. So overall, I don't have any concerns with the safety. Now, with that being said, though, whenever I am using it indoors, I will always have one of these nearby just in case, because you never know if something in here cracks or maybe one of my lines crack or something. So it's always safe to go ahead and have one of these CO2 monitors around just in case. Another cool feature about this is whenever this thing is on, and it tips over, if a dog or a kid tips it over, it doesn't matter which way, it has a safety cutoff switch in it. So if this thing falls or tips over, it will cut off. Now, if it falls like this on the ground, still might burn something, but yeah. Now these are the 1 pound tanks that I've been using when not using my big propane tank, of course. But basically, this thing, it has this regulator, and you just simply screw it in. And it just sits in there like so, just like that. That's it. It doesn't protrude out too far or anything. Now, how long of use will you get out of these tanks? I tested that. On high, I ran a brand new tank from start to finish, and it lasted 2 hours, 46 minutes. And on low, it went for 5 hours, 21 minutes. It's spot on the high setting, and on the low setting, it's roughly about 20 minutes off according to what their website says. So honestly, I don't have any complaints. Also, these things are technically refillable. Some people say you're not supposed to, some people say it's okay. From everything that I've read on the internet, you get anywhere from like 3 to 6 uses out of these before the gasket inside starts to degrade. Some people say they've gotten way more out of it. I've read a lot of people that said around 3 to 5 and then they had problems. Honestly, I have other ones that I've filled up probably about 4 or 5 times and I still don't have any problems with them. Now keep in mind, it's advised not to refill these and you're doing that at your own risk, but there is always the danger of something happening. Now, there is an option to use this without those little tanks. You can get a hose attachment and hook it up directly to this and straight to the propane tank. Now, there is a lot of conversation and debate out there about what hoses to use, how you need a filter. Some people say you do, some people say you don't. I have the answer according to an engineer at Mr. Heater Buddy that makes these heaters. If you are using a non-Mr. Buddy hose, you will need one of these filters. And if you're using a Mr. Buddy hose that's under 10 feet, you will also need one of these filters. Their hoses, the Mr. Heater Buddy hoses that are 10 feet and over, already have a regulator and filter built into the end of it, so you will not need that. But any other ones you will need. Now this is one of the Mr. Heater Buddy hoses. It's only the 5-foot one. I did get this filter. I have used it. Now basically, inside the rubber there is plasterizers. I might be mispronouncing that, but basically, as these hoses expand and despan from the pressure of the tank, it leaches the oils out of the hose into it, and then it goes into here. So that's why you need the filter to catch this oils that leach out of this hose. Now, how often will you have to replace this filter? I have never had to replace one of these, so I couldn't tell you from my personal experience, but from what I've read other people talking about, if they're using theirs pretty often, or fairly often, they replace these about once a year. Because once these things get full, they're useless, and it's just going to push oil right through, and that's what ruins a lot of these Mr. Heater Buddies, is the oil's pushing through and clogging that up, I guess. Okay. Here's a cool little hack that I found while doing some research for this, is this guy right here. This is a bucket grid. You can get it in like the painting section at a hardware store or something. I picked this up for, I believe, $3 at Home Depot. You can see it's already discolored in the middle because I've already been using it, but basically, you just put this bad boy on like this, and you got yourself a little stovetop, or a little surface for like one of those heat fans, something kind of like this. I've seen people place it directly on top of here, and those things basically work right off of heat, and those fans will just spin and push some of that hot air out. Another cool thing that I've seen people do with these is actually cook on these, but we will put that to the test in another video. And I know one concern you're probably already having is, will this melt the plastic up here? No, it will not. I ran this last night on high for about 3 or 4 hours with this guy attached to it, continuously checking it. This part never warmed up at all, and this was on 9,000 BTU on high, sitting like this. Even after the full time, I was still able to touch it directly with my hands. Don't try that. You could burn yourself. I did it just for testing purposes for you guys, but yes, this thing is safe to put there. Now, if you are concerned, I did read that you can put a couple strips of foil right there and right there, so that way it never really touches it directly. But yeah. Okay guys, I did do some testing with refilling the empty tanks. I did 3 of them. The results were not satisfactory, so I'm not going to show the footage, but basically I refilled 3 empty tanks multiple times. One of them I went all the way up to 2 minutes and 30 seconds being left on, and they would not go past halfway. So I'm not sure if these things have some kind of safety feature where they can't be refilled 100% after they've been emptied the first time, or if I'm just not doing it correctly, but I'm just not having any luck. If you've had any better luck, definitely put it down in the comments, but from what I'm measuring on this Coleman device, it is not going full. Alright y'all, in case you were wondering what it looked like while it was running, this is it. Looks like this thing gets up to a staggering 825 degrees. It's pretty hot. Final thoughts between all the safety features of it and it not producing any CO2. Honestly, I don't have any complaints other than the fact that it just outright stinks whenever it turns off with these little tanks. But all in all, yeah, I'd recommend this for having a backup emergency heater, or if you're going camping or something. Yeah, you can't go wrong. We'll definitely, in another video, try out some of the hacks like the cooking and all that were on the internet. So keep an eye out for that one. But if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, or any opinions about this thing, definitely drop it down in the comments. And yeah, we'll see you next time.